So for the fifth question, it tells us a student uses paper chromatography in an experiment to separate the dyes in 4 different felt tip pens, E, F, G, and H. Diagram shows the appearance of the paper before and after the experiment. So it is a question about paper chromatography. So part A1 tells us to explain about why the spots on the baseline are placed above the level of the solvent. And first, it is also mentioned the chromatography paper is placed in a solvent. Okay. So the answer should be the spots were placed above the level of the solvent because they will not dissolve into the solvent. That's your first point. The second point would be so that they can travel up the paper. So that's your answer for part A1. So part 2 tells us explain which two felt tip pens contain the same dye. So if we try to relate it, so the answer should be E and H because both of them have a spot at the same distance. So this and this have the same distance or travel the same distance from the baseline. Therefore, E and H contains the same dye. So our answer should be like this. E and H contain the same dye as both have a spot that traveled the same distance. Or you can mention about have the same RF value. So part 3 tells us the student thought that both F and G contained only one dye. Explain why the student can only be certain about one of these dyes. So if we move on to the diagram again, so F and G has only one single dye. So that would be the answer. So what we will write is we can be certain about one of this because G was the only dye where it moved up a certain distance. So we can write the student can be certain about G as it contains one dye as only one spot. So that's the first point. And the second point you can write also F has not moved. So therefore the student can be certain about G. Calculate the RF value for the dye in G, show your working. That's the question they told us in part B. So if we measure the approximate value from the baseline, so it was about the dye in G. So we have to calculate the distance, measure the distance from the baseline to the point it moved. So we know the RF value as RF. We can just simply we get the value 39 divided by 65, which comes as 0.6. There are certain range of values that you can have for this math. So that's your answer for part B.